according to the Ghana Bar Association. The National Lotteries Authority is also donating 100,000 Ghana cedis to tidal wave victims. Comes with a picture of the CEO and the Volta Regional Minister James Kunu. So that's some relief to them. And Professor Diajiman replies, GTEC.
Talking about relief, are we saying that as a country, as a people, we cannot take care of our own in times of disaster? Is that what we are saying? That the country called Ghana, we cannot take care of these people. First of all, these are people who are not supposed to be going through these problems, because we know where they are and should have solved this problem long ago. I do not understand when we treat our own as if they do not matter. Anyway.
Let me bring you the BNFT. World Bank provides $360 million to strengthen macroeconomic stability. $370 million awaits IMF board approval. So we have 360. If the IMF approves 370 million, we would have about roughly $730 million injected into the economy. That's good, isn't it?
It is. That's good.
Yes,
it would further help in the stabilization of the Ghana cedi and appreciation of it.
And blended finance to power $4 billion 24-hour economy plan. That story comes with a photo of my friend Dr. Ishmael Ni Amano Dodo. He is with the 24-hour economy. He is the head of innovation, partnerships and markets at the 24-hour economy. More stories from the BNFT. Africa still lags behind global trade volumes, contributes just 3.3% according to an Afri-Exim Bank report. The Minerals Income and Investment Fund intensifies royalties collections, begins nationwide tour of quarry salt mines, and I'm sure after this we will know the number of legal quarries in the country. There are a lot of quarries, but there are industry watchers who believe most of these are illegal, most of these are evading taxes, and we are not getting proper revenues from them. Now, if you still stay with the BNFT front page, lighting up local enterprises, how a 24-hour economy policy can boost SMEs. And there is a feature on Prof. Dodu of the Ghana Standards Authority. It says Prof. Dodu, a lifetime of standards leadership.
And Kojo, since you're talking about the 24-hour economy, it's also captured here on the front page of the National Enquirer. Ghana launches 24-hour economy tomorrow with a bold push to cut joblessness and also boost productivity. Gusitano is on the front page with a sharp focus on him and that big policy by government. Gold Board is also moving in to tackle the issue about unlicensed trading of gold, because Gold Board is warning that unlicensed gold trading now illegal. It's on the front page of the National Enquirer. You can get more details there. And Tourism Minister honors High Life legend Ejako Nimo. And a very touching picture here of the sector minister with the legendary musician. Support Black Queens to reclaim football glory. That's according to the Sports Minister Kofi Adams. And the NLA boss ratified as Vice President of the African Lotteries Association. So kudos to him as well. And Reverend Stephen Wengam is chairperson of the Ghana Immigration Service Board.
I'll start with my Joe Online. Ex-CalBank CEO describes Akufo-Addo and Kenoforiata's economic management as a disaster. And Frank Adu is also opening up on his exit from CalBank. He says he was forced out, but he holds no grudge. Now, when he was asked about the pension funds and the DDEP, he said that pensioners cannot forgive Akufo-Addo and Oforiatta, and he said he will not also forgive them for how they manage that.
Hold on a minute. I have all of these here.
Yes.
Let me just bring it to you, okay? In case you missed that on PM Express, you can get onto our YouTube page. That's the Joy News YouTube page, and watch the full one. But stay with us here on the Super Morning Show, because we're bringing you bits and pieces of it, starting with this.
Seeing that his family and you know him, when you look back on his tenure as finance minister, what would your verdict be?
Disaster. Of course. Look, if it wasn't disastrous between him and the president, the people of Ghana wouldn't have voted the way they voted. It's not me saying. The verdict is captured in the results of the elections. It's as simple as that. You do not run the economy where almost everybody is suffering and expect that the people will not object.
You said those who lost money will never forgive Akufo-Addo and Ken. You have never forgiven them.
No, I will not. I will not, because I saw them live large.
You saw them live large.
Yes, they live large, and so why do you want to live large at the expense of my pension? It's something that should not be trivialized at all. To have a cabinet meeting and decide that in solving the country's debt problems, I'm going to include pensioners. That's dark.
Okay, so there you have it.
Yes, so that was Frank Addo. I'll give you a final headline. He says, "We slept in the same bed, but Ken Ofori-Atto's legacy betrayed our hope," Frank Addo. But I've been wondering, when Akufo-Addo was in government, when Ken Ofori-Atto was there, did you ever hear Frank Addo publicly speaking when they were managing? I'm just asking. When the economy was slowing down and was being led into a disastrous, what do you call it? Disastrous
state,
bottomless pit of hopelessness.
Well, a lot of people didn't. Do I remember Frank Addo speaking? I am not sure. I do not remember. Doesn't mean he didn't speak, but I do not remember. But for me, okay, we've had a program here before, and we've talked about the role that a middle class plays in every economy.
Yep.
Ghana's middle class, most of the time, go to sleep and only speak when they are directly touched.
Yeah.
So, I'll say this. I'm happy that Frank Addo has made these points. I think that going forward, all of us should help the Ghanaian economy. When things are not right, let's speak against them. Let's not just wait till they get so bad before we start talking. Okay, but I was discussing this with Darrell earlier about pensions in this country. It's something we must actually even look at. Because, Kojo, a lot of people do not actually know that their pensions are calculated on their basic salaries. So a lot of people go to negotiate salary increases, and they are giving a lot of allowances. They are okay. It's only when they are going on retirement, then they realize, so it means that all this while, the 18% that was deducted, 5% for a lump sum, 13% for, SNIT monthly payment. It was nothing to write home about. I say, go to SNIT.
Yeah.
Check. They would show you your best 3 months, because they'll use the best 3 months to do the calculation. And many people will get about 60% of their basic salaries as their, pension package.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just be careful.
Yeah.
Go in there and make sure, okay, that you know how much you're earning. Years ago, I realized that I was so comfortable with my salary. But when I went to check my basic salary, I was shocked. My basic salary was less than 50% of what I was earning.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was just working.
Yeah.
But my pension was in jeopardy.
Anyway, so let's check our pensions. And on speaking for the economy and speaking for the people, I think we've all learned lessons over the 60-something years of Ghana being a democracy. And for example, institutions like the Ghana Bar Association, I expect them to be proactive. Ghana Medical Association largely has been proactive over health issues over the past few years. Ghana Institution of Architects, when we talk about the built environment, public infrastructure, for example, we've spent money on Saglemi and all sorts of affordable housing schemes. I expect the Ghana Institution of Architects to speak. If the government is misbehaving, I expect you to speak on your area of expertise. Ghana Institute of Planners, Ghana Institution of Engineers, all these associations and institutions, I see them as the conscience of the society. And they must not sit back and sometimes speak after the fact.
But sometimes
they must be involved in policy formulation, execution, and critiquing and monitoring and evaluation of our progress. Else, we wait till things go bad, and then we come and
yeah. There's also a challenge about excessive powers that are given to the executive in this country, and I think the Constitutional Review Committee should try and check that, because it doesn't allow dissent to a very large extent, because almost everything in this country is tied to a certain executive regime, right? So you'd find people wanting to shy away until, of course, we go to the polls and they express their views through the polls. So that's been the approach over the years, and I feel that we should be reforming that.
Okay.
Quickly, let me just do that. I think I said best 3 months. It's supposed to be best 3 years.
Best 3 years.
Yes, I meant to say best 3 years, not best
for the
3
pension
months.
calculation.
Yes, for the pension
I
calculation.
think SNIT actually has the formula for calculating your pensions on their website.
Oh, yeah, they do.
I saw it a long time ago. I don't know if it's still there. It should be there.
They actually send me, for me,
Yes.
every year they send me my
Yeah.
statement. So I always have my
so you should check.
statement, and
You should check.
I always will look at it and say,
Yeah.
"Hey, I bet you need."
Anyway, let me bring you some other stories. There's a story that interests me here on the front page of the BNFT. Blended finance to power $4 billion 24-hour economic plan. And Dr. Ishmael Dodo of the 24-hour economy secretariat says that government plans to mobilize $4 billion for its 24-hour economy. And with a seed capital of $300 million, the government expects to initiate its program under the Fund 24 framework. The remaining 90% is expected to come from private sources through a mix of equity, concessional lending, and innovative instruments such as diaspora bonds. The flagship program aims to promote inclusive growth and job creation by extending economic activity beyond conventional working hours. And Dr. Dodu, Head of Innovation, Partnerships and Markets of the 24-hour Economy Secretariat, following a media engagement, told the BNFT that the plan is anchored on two financing tracks: enterprise financing for SMEs and infrastructure financing through special purpose vehicles. And I believe that's where institutions like DBG, Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, and those others will come in.
Yeah.
And he says that the Development Bank Ghana will lead the enterprise finance track, managing a revolving fund worth between $1 billion and $1.5 billion. And this facility will be extended to small and medium scale enterprises with concessional terms, interest rates below 10%, and loan tenors of 3 to 5 years.
So I've just been informed that Frank Edu spoke at the or that day under the Baobab Tree event.
Oh, nice.
That was last year.
Nice.
At the Ex-CalBank head office. So
Oh, nice.
last year he spoke about all of these things.
Was
Yeah,
that where he said that the democracy we are practicing in Ghana doesn't make sense?
I'm sure.
Yes. Nice. We need consistency.
Exactly.
From people who know and people who can put the executive in check and bring the rest of the country in sync with development issues and its effects on us. Now, there's another story I'm interested in. It's about the Minerals Income and Investment Fund, and they are going around the country to in a quest to increase royalty receipts from mining companies operating across the country. And one of the areas that I believe they should really put their lenses on is on the quarry industry.
Okay.
When you travel around the country, you see a lot of quarries.
I do.
Some of these are practicing and working without licenses. And some of the quarries with licenses, they are understating their revenues and are not paying what is due us. The last time we did some back of the envelope calculation on the value of stones that are mined at the various quarries, we were almost at 700 million USD. 700 million USD. But I'm not sure the GRA collects enough taxes close to that amount of, like, taxes commensurate with the revenues that the quarries are supposed to be generating. And I'm not sure we are getting enough royalties also related to this. And you see communities suffering, and you see people stealing our money. Over 200 quarries in this country. How many of them are legal? How many of them are paying the right taxes? If we want to build Ghana, those are some of the areas we should also be looking for revenue.
And you know, one of the excuses by the EPA was that initially they were not an authority, fully fledged to check their operations. Now you have the bill, now you have the certification, you have full authority on yourself to, regulate the market. But this challenge is still persisting, and I think that this is the time for them to move in, not just with, MIF doing their own thing, but it should be very coordinated, a coordinated approach, just as they're doing for the anti-illegal mining task force. We could have a similar arrangement with all the royalty-taking institutions coming together and taking much more from it. Because CDD, I believe, was it last year? I believe Winston was the one moderating that conversation, where, of course, the Ford research was done, and it's showing that many of these companies or firms are not giving their due to the communities where they operate. So it's a big challenge for us to check.
And there's a story on the graphic on the graphic website. 4.8 million live in substandard conditions. This is the urban slum crisis, and the story says 30.8%. Let's say a third of people living in urban areas are living in slum conditions. They don't have adequate housing, they don't have sanitation, limited access to basic services. This is according to a new report by the Ghana Statistical Services. And the findings drawn from the 2021 Population and Housing Census highlight severe disparities in living standards, with the northern, Savannah and Oti regions bearing the brunt of the crisis. And when it comes to urban slums and informal settlement, Winston, sometimes you buy stuff in traffic, right?
Yeah, once a while.
You buy some snacks, you buy water. These people live in slums. They don't have access to proper toilets.
Right.
Some of them will just go and use the bush, not even have water to wash their hands, and come and sell you water. So even our healthcare is based on the on proper housing. If you provided proper housing and fix a lot of these issues, some of these communicable diseases and other things
will
could
be
be
checked.
prevented.
Yeah.